It's always difficult to attack, as it were, your own side. And I thought long and hard about this week's column because I am going quite full frontal for Keir Starmer and the team over a series of attack ads directed personally at Rishi Sunak. Now, I understand entirely the motivation behind them. I do know that the Labour Party is getting worried about Sunak's personal popularity ratings rising. I know there's concern across the party about Labour's lead in the polls beginning to narrow a bit, something that we have been talking about for some time at the New Statesman as likely. And, of course, there is enormous frustration about the unfairness, the imbalance in the media, so that again and again, Tory leaders attack Labour leaders in personal, vicious, unfair terms. I saw it first when Neil Kinnock was leading the Labour Party in the Thatcher days, and it's really carried on all the way, right the way through to the Corbyn era and now to Keir Starmer. Again and again, Tory leaders are really unfair, attacking Labour leaders as weak, pathetic, dishonest and so forth. And what they say in the House of Commons is then amplified by a very aggressive, very disciplined and indeed pretty skilled right-wing press.
He's just a great pointless human bollard, Mr. Speaker. That's what he is.
This happens so often that we've become inured to it. But, you know, Keir Starmer is only human, and all that stuff from Boris Johnson about Sir Crasherini Snooze Fest, the human bollard and so on, clearly got under his skin and was meant to.
I know the right honourable gentleman rarely leaves North London.
And so the sense from the Labour Party was, OK, well, if the gloves are off, the gloves are off. I completely understand that, and I completely get that. And, of course, it happens in a context where the media landscape has changed too. So what the editor of the Daily Express or indeed the Daily Mail or the Sun chooses to put on the front page attacking the Labour Party, devastating in Neil Kinnock's day, is no longer quite so devastating because so many, particularly younger voters, don't see those front pages, don't think about them, and are living on social media, where the Labour team is much more active and much more skilled. So in a sense, the playing ground has already been levelled across the media, and the Labour Party are using that, and again, completely get that. So what's the problem, Andrew? What is the problem? Here's the problem. Do you really think that Rishi Sunak, who has never been a justice minister or part of that side of government, personally thinks that dangerous paedophiles should be roaming the country, unincarcerated, free to do what they want? No, you don't think that, because it's not true. What has happened is that under the Tories, like so many parts of the public sphere, the judicial system has been hollowed out, weakened, slowed down, and lots of sentencing decisions have been made which most voters wouldn't approve of. And that includes people who've got a record of trying to groom, perhaps, or downloading paedophile images from the internet, all of those kinds of things. Now, not all of those people have gone to prison. And that is, of course, down to the sentencing guidelines. And so this was a real stretch. This was a kind of hyperextension from something has gone wrong in society, the Conservatives were in charge at the time, and therefore Rishi Sunak is personally responsible, is gloating over this. Now that seems to me to be such a stretch that it's just not true, and it's grossly unfair.
I make no apologies for highlighting the failures of this government. They've broken our criminal justice system, they've broken our NHS, and they've broken our economy.
I think that on the centre-left, to quote John McDonnell, the former Shadow Chancellor, we are better than that. And it's important not just to win the election, which I think will happen still. I'm still reasonably confident that so bad is the Conservative record across everything from health to sewage to all the rest of it, that Labour will win in the end. It's going to be tough, but Labour will win. But I think also there is a responsibility after the last ghastly few years in British public life, the lies, the deceits, the exaggerations, the post-truth world. It's really, really important that the centre-left in general and the Labour Party in particular doesn't start to fall into this post-truth way of doing politics. It's coarse, it's crude, it's dragging all of politics down. I think it's actually also counterproductive because I think an awful lot of open-minded, sort of mildly progressive voters absolutely loathe this stuff. And the more they think all politicians, all political teams are broadly the same. They'll say anything to get into power. They'll tell any lie. They'll throw any piece of ordure, any piece of personal abuse to get there. The more they're just going to turn their backs. Abstentionism, or not really giving a monkeys about who wins the election, is a huge danger for Labour, as much of a danger, I think, as this particular group of voters or that particular group of voters specifically.
We don't want these long waiting lists at our hospitals. We don't want crime and antisocial behaviour going up. We don't want people facing even more rises in their council tax in the middle of a cost of living crisis.
And so here's another problem for Labour, engaging in what I would call this fecal art, the throwing of filth and dirt at the other side as you try and dodge it when it's thrown back again. Up to now, Keir Starmer has had genuine moral authority. You look from him and his seriousness and his grasp of policy and his record of public service, and you look across at Boris Johnson in the old days and the Truss administration, all the rest of it, and you really do think, I think, see a difference there. It's a really, really important difference. But the problem is, moral authority is very, very easy to lose. You cede that high ground, you move down towards the gutter, and it's really, really hard to get back again.
It's a nasty world, but what we're doing is
so
we are
playing
highlighting...
nasty is now the Labour Party's policy.
No. We're not just throwing abuse around, which is the way in which, David Blunkett does know politics can descend to sometimes. No, what we're doing is we're saying to the Prime Minister, you can't get away from this. You are Prime Minister. You are ultimately responsible for the criminal justice system, and that's what we're saying.
All right, Team Starmer might say to me, very good. From your sanctimonious pulpit, Marr, what would you suggest we do? Because our traditional messaging, our speeches on crime and the rest of it aren't cutting through as we want. This stuff is cutting through. So what's your grand plan? I would say only that I think we are involved in an enormous, indeed titanic political argument in this country at quite a deep level, really about the role of the state. I think after the pandemic, after the Ukraine war, and now facing a range of problems for the resilience and security of our lives around us, I think we're going into an age where a stronger, more effective, and probably even a bigger state is required. Parties that believe in this, like the Labour Party, are going to do much better than parties that don't. And I think when it comes to the broken Britain we see on all sides, when it's the sewerage system or the judiciary or aspects of the education system, certainly the health service, there's an enormous job to be done. And it's going to take more than one administration. It's going to take at least 10 years to start to rebuild the country that we love and live in. Lots of hard decisions. It's a long, slow slog. But the argument that should be fought is about where we're going as a country and why we're getting there. And I think that is much more important. And furthermore, I am personally fairly confident that Team Starmer can win on that ground. So I very much hope this is an embarrassing Easter episode, and it's not going to be the general direction of Labour Party politics, or indeed politics more generally. If you'd like to stay up to date and you'd like to see the latest explainers, field reports, feature stories and special discussion episodes, then please, folks, subscribe to our channel today.